Good evening and welcome to my live podcast. I'm Bob Pace and I'm here to fight CPS and hang on to your children. Now, this is a live podcast that's broadcast all over the world, and I welcome you all. It's about the child protection system. That's what I call the CPS. It's the agency of the social service, the branch that protects our children from neglect and abuse, and also helps out family in needs with food, shelter, clothing, education, transportation, and also helps with a job. So when I mentioned CPS, that's what I talked about. There are 4 ways that you can interact with this podcast. The first way is to be in this room. Now, you can use emojis like thumbs up, hearts, and smiley faces. Also, you can send me stars. Please subscribe to my podcast by checking below, and then also send a check if you want to be notified. I'm on 14 days a week, 14 times a week, twice a day. I'm on from Monday through Sunday, first time at 10 o'clock in the morning Pacific Standard Time for 1 hour, and then at nighttime at 7 o'clock Pacific Standard Time for 1 hour. Now, there are some exceptions. On Sunday, I go to church, and so I do my show a couple of minutes earlier. Also, on Friday night lights with the high school football, I go to the football game earlier, so my show time is early in the afternoon. I will let you know the time when I work out with my show producer for next Friday. Anyway, I want to thank you all and encourage you all to share your story with me. I will try to help you. I'm a loving father of 6 children and been married for 32 years. Unfortunately, I had the bad experience, me and my wife, to experience CPS firsthand. And it was miserable because we did not know who was doing the allegations. They were constantly done by a layperson would call, and then the CPS would come out every week. This went on for 5 years. And it was my in-laws, my wife's father, mother, 3 sisters, and a brother that were calling in every week that we weren't feeding our children, wouldn't take them to school, and weren't paying the utility bills, anything they could do to ruin our lives. It was really aspirating. And it really was a terrible experience to be involved in CPS. They're very corrupt. They're a corrupt people there. Now, besides being in the room, there's a second way you can interact with this podcast. And you can go here and type in a comment. Now, comments are questions or something about your CPS case or about CPS in general. All I ask you is to be focused on the child protection system, to go ahead and give me your first name, the city or the county you're from, and your state. Also, I have people, since it is around the world, I have 14 countries that participate. So I like the state or province, the city, and the country, if you're from a country there. and try to be complete with your case. Tell as much as you can about your case so I can help you. Now, a third way to do with the podcast is the third way that you could do the podcast is to be a guest. And I love to have guests on our show. To be a guest on the show, all you have to do is contact our show producer. Her name is Grace, and she can be reached at Grace at it's Grace at vincentwdavis.com. It's Grace at vincentwdavis.com, and she can be reached there. Now, all you need to do is write her that you want to be on my morning show or afternoon show, Sunday show, Wednesday show, and she'll take it from there. She'll send you a link. I use StreamYard as my application. She'll send you a link to get on YouTube with the StreamYard application. And if you get knocked off or you lose your connection, that link's still good, so you can go back on again during that show. Also, should tell you about what to do on the podcast, such as no eating or smoking during the podcast. And we do not use the children's names, the judges, or the social workers' names. And now the last way to interact with this podcast is to call in. Now, Vonage is the application I use for my phone, my office phone. You cannot text in on Vonage. I cannot text out on Vonage because the texting part of the software is not working. We're trying to work on that. But you can voice call in to my number. My number is 626-698-0990. And I'd love to hear from you. I'll put you on speakerphone, and we can talk about your case or questions you need answered or anything else that pertains to CPS. So there are 4 ways. Just by being in this room, texting comments, be a guest, and my phone number. So the phone is now live. My phone number is up. Please do not call me before my show or after my show because I cannot talk. I cannot talk during those times. I can only talk during my show times. So I know how difficult it is to talk about your case. I know a lot of you are going through CPS for the first time and you're really surprised how terrible they are. They are a bad organization, and they lie, they cheat, and they will do mean things to you, your family, and so forth. Your children are trafficked by them. It's illegal, but they do it. They're alienated by them, but it's illegal and they do it. Right now, they don't care about your constitutional or civil rights. They don't care about that. So, I want you all to feel at ease. We can talk about a lot of things. We have regular guests that come by the show and help me out talking. I can talk about Core's Digest, which is questions and answers that we could talk about CPS. Also, I can tell you the kind of social workers you experience. Also, how to fight CPS and how to deal with the social workers. I have a lot of topics I can talk about. The tabs are open, like the ICWA Act of 1978, the Indian Child Welfare Act, or the 388 motion, or how to file a complaint against judges, against attorneys, against your social worker, both at the county level and at the state level and at the federal level. There are ways I can help you out there. Now, it's really important that You do not talk to social workers. You do not you let them in your home. And whatever you do not open the door. And don't let them have your children. There's special ways that they can do that. One is they get your permission, and you don't want to give them permission. Also, when you encounter a social worker, don't talk to them. You need to be represented by an attorney. Attorney is the only thing that's going to protect you. The only one that's going to get your kids back. Now, probably a lot of you can't afford attorneys because the retainer's so high. But right now, I have an attorney that sponsors this podcast. I want to thank him. His name is Vincent W. Davis, and he will do a Zoom consultation for 30 minutes at HT TPS /candidly C / twice candidly CALENDLY.com /apps APPTS VWD / Bob Pace. Now, right now there's a 30-minute time frame that he'll give you, and we are working on other issues at the moment. I know that he has hi Natalie, welcome Natalie. Natalie's from West Hollywood, and she's come to join us tonight. I'm so glad you're here, Natalie. And I haven't heard yet from Faye, but imagine Faye may be coming. Let me go see if I can find her. I had to get my phone. What would you like to talk about, Natalie, tonight? What would you want to call in and talk about an issue? Do you want me to talk about CORE's digest, about CPS questions and answers? Ask me what? What would you want me to ask you, Natalie? Okay. Good evening, and this is Bob Pace, and welcome to my podcast.
Why, welcome.
And that sounds like a regular room acquaintance here, Natalie from West Hollywood, California.
Yes, hi.
Hi, what would you like to talk about tonight, or what would you like me to talk about?
We can go over last time I mentioned about how they were supposed to give me notice in a 72-hour hearing and all those things. We can go over that, or in a Cora if you want.
Well, we can go over those kind of things, but you're going to have to tell there's some new people in the room, so you got very quickly to talk about your case. I can sum it up for you if you like, or would you like to talk about your case?
Oh, well, I'll talk about my case if anybody...
Sure, they're going to be people that have not heard you, so go ahead and talk about your case.
So basically, my case started in 2013, right after my parents passed away, and I had two little girls, and they were ages 2 and 3, and I had one neighbor that was not mentally together, and he, without my knowledge, he called the CPS on us, but CPS, I never got any, she never could come to the door or knock or anything because there was a gate, and then after that, my parents passed away, and so I had to move out from the house and move to my grandparents' house so my brother could fix the house. And there was another neighbor next door. He wrote a threatening letter, and then he reported me and everything. And so then when I showed the letter to the sheriff, because she kept banging on the door, she took me to the mental hospital of County LA, USC, and I stayed only a day. So they remember Bob, you explained how the sheriff can under their supervision, they can take you to a mental hospital.
Well, yeah, they can do that if they allege that you have some mental issues. They can take you for 72 hours. It's a shame because in your case, you were taken there and you were never arrested.
I was never arrested, and I never was. They never gave me my rights to be read, and also they took my kids out of the window, which is ridiculous because even though the window was open, the door was open, and the pets were coming in and out. I was really scared because the house is very close to the street, and they took it the wrong way, and then they took my pets, and then they stole my belongings also when I came back. And I don't know, I was on YouTube last night watching Judge Joe, and yeah, he said that, it's basically summing up OJ's case, but I didn't want to get into OJ. He said, yeah, the police were they have this way of, they steal. So they do that. So, and then after that, I was in the hospital for a day, and I asked where my kids were, and then finally my brother and his attorney showed up and said they wouldn't give us your daughters because of whatever, and then but the CPS has them, and I was really upset. And then that I had to go home alone to my parents' house and pick up my belongings. The sheriff stole my house keys for both properties.
Right.
My grandparents' house and my house, and my parents' house.
Right.
So it's very disturbing. They went through my mom's belongings and everything, so then I never got notice where my kids are. They're supposed to call you and leave a message. No, they didn't do that at CPS, which is illegal, and they're supposed to give you a 72-hour hearing to whether they can be placed with a relative or sent back home to you.
Right.
No, I didn't get that.
Right.
So I got a detention hearing instead.
Okay.
Which is ridiculous. So they weren't. They took my children without a warrant.
Now, what is a detention hearing? Explain to our listeners who may not have had a detention hearing yet.
Well, so basically, the detention hearing is when the judge. Okay, so if they can't find, if you do get your 72-hour hearing to tell you that they have your kids, they can have them in a foster care for another week, let's say, until they find somebody to take your children, like a relative or yourself. But they could, and then you could have a case plan. But in this detention hearing is basically they've taken jurisdiction continuous on the child, so that they're in a foster home. Right. They've made that measure to be jurisdiction on the child. So when you get your court paper back, your report, your minute order, that's what's going to say. So you're gonna. They're saying that the child has to be certain, and then it's horrible with the detention hearing because they actually have the allegations on you, which is ridiculous, and then they dismiss them, and then they charge you with the allegations, which are lies.
Yeah.
So that's what happens in the detention hearing.
Okay.
So your children are basically in foster care.
Now, would you have done something differently now that you know all this now? Would you have done something differently?
Yeah, I would have never opened the door, but they were banging the door, and I wouldn't have shown the letter because she thought that I was writing the letter, the sheriff or something.
Yeah, well, I just meant maybe there's something you tell our listeners, the mistakes you made, so they don't make the same mistakes.
The only mistake I made was just opening the door, and the second thing is getting upset because it's upsetting, but anybody would be upset when you have to deal with too much stress. There's too many things at once. That's the only thing, but I am not mentally disturbed. I only am traumatized by this, and I keep keep working with it. I don't go to therapy because the therapist doesn't understand.
Right, right. Well, it is a very hard thing to sit there and deal with CPS, especially the ones
Yes.
in LA County and Orange County where I live and what I went through. And you're in LA County, I'm in Orange County, and the CPS are very corrupt. They lie, they cheat, and they're not your friend. They do not do your family reunification. They do not do
No,
the things they're
they
supposed.
don't do family reunification, and the law says you have to have family reunification. So they're going to give you family reunification. So they want you to do the case plan, which is like basically like a contract you have with the state.
Okay.
So basically, they're putting you a gun to your head in a sense, but it's not a real gun. If you don't complete all those programs like parenting, counseling, drug classes, drug screening, testing, whatever it is. And you know what? They all just cost money, and it's a money-making industry.
Oh,
That's
boy.
all. You don't really learn anything.
Well, I had to take a lot of those things you're talking about, but fortunately, I didn't have to pay because I was low income. When I lost my job, all I had was my savings, and I had to use that to pay my mortgage.
Yeah. And the mortgage rate is lower, but people don't have money to pay the mortgage.
Oh, well, I had savings. That's where I paid my mortgage. So
Yeah. So I went to one class that was free for parenting.
okay,
And it was in El Monte, and the teacher, she was very nice and everything, and she still wondered why they took my kids. Why? And then they had like a little party at the end of the class where you get your diploma and you can bring food, and share. And they would give me like clothes and things. It was all the way on Tyler and Rush. I forgot the center's name, but you can look it up. It's in El Monte.
okay,
And also I took one in Hollywood here, Sunset and Western at the. You had to pay, it was $10 at the time, and it was just crazy because all the people, like, they were nice, but they were telling us what they were doing, the social worker, two of them, and then they said I needed to take PCIT, which is like parent-child interactive therapy. I didn't have to pay for that, I think, but it was like you had to be in a room with my kids, and they put me with a headphone, and they would watch me, and then I would have to talk a certain way to my kids and play with them. And then because the judge ended my reunification, the center for the PCIT didn't continue with it. It just was really weird.
wow.
It was he just ended my reunification, and I still don't understand why, because I did all the programs, and she would not give me, the judge, she would not give me unmonitored visits. So she set me up for failure in a sense. She just wanted to just do because she was like option.
Yeah.
Which is not right.
No, I don't think it is. Should be right. You're right.
I mean, this judge, she was appointed by Jerry Brown.
What, the judges?
Yeah, the judge. So she was appointed by Jerry Brown to fill someone's seat there because I guess they retired or they passed away. It was an elderly gentleman judge, I heard.
Oh, okay.
So basically, she has a pattern of separating all the kids because my friend, okay, she had twin daughters and a teenage son at the time. She separated her twin daughters, but she gets to keep her son.
Okay.
So this is crazy. The reason, it's all crazy. So basically, they have to. This is a pattern, I think, of many of these judges. Did your judge separated your daughter but you got to keep your other children.
Well, my children, I was fortunate because my son had turned 12 and he can pretty much tell them where he wants to go.
Right.
My other son had turned 18, so he was already out of foster care.
Right.
So both my sons told the CPS people you can disappear. They were disgusted with them. They said go home to their mom and dad.
Right, but at 12 they could still separate them, right?
I'm sorry.
At 12, yeah, they could. You could.
Well, they can
the
emancipate. They can emancipate.
Right. Yes, you could be emancipated.
Yeah, right. Which my daughter
But
did.
that's what she wanted. The social work for you.
Right. She told my daughter what to do, and she did emancipate, and that was sad because my daughter didn't know what she was doing, and CPS did that as a revengeful tactic.
Yeah. So they brainwashed my daughters, and they said that I wasn't their mother.
Wrong. I mean,
they continuously did that.
In Kentucky,
so my daughters would repeat that.
In Kentucky, they do something even more horrible where they tell the parents you can say goodbye to your child when they are adopted. So, it was.
That's horrible because that's ridiculous. So basically, like they have their final hearing, they get adopted, and whatever time period you get your visit to say goodbye.
Yeah, it's like in Kentucky, they have it so your last chance to say goodbye to your children. You can't be emotional. You can't think. You have to be and that is stupid. I have never heard of such a thing. But Faye said that they did that to her. And the sad part was the question was asked, how can Faye be fit to take care of her special needs son and not be fit to take care of her daughter?
I don't understand. So they're saying because she can't take care of both of them?
No,
Why?
she had to choose which or the other because they had a foster care parents that wanted her daughter. She was really good looking daughter.
So she had to choose one child, basically.
Yes. And her son needed her because he's a special needs.
I see. I didn't get a choice. I didn't get anything. All I got was bills.
Yeah, I know.
And a rough life. That's all I got. And sick and tumors.
That is sad. That is very, very, very sad.
I mean, I was at the market yesterday turning in a like one of those milk bottles with the happy laughing cow thing. So this fellow was like very kind to me, and I was like, oh my God, here we go. He's a customer. And I just put the bottle at the front desk, and I was like, okay, he's talking to me. But you know me, because I'm like kind of like, because I'm traumatized, like I can't really talk to people too much.
Right.
It's weird, but
right.
I don't know. Maybe he wants to like knock the bottle down or do something. So in the back of my mind, you have all these weird thoughts. I don't know why, because of this what's happened to me. So then he opens. I says, "You're wearing a jacket. You're cold." I'm like, yes, I have a tumor. I said, so do I. He says, basically, it's under his. It's in his chest area. So he opens up about me, about his tumor. So it's like tumor. What is it? Relations. Tumor to tumor pain. Like, yeah, it can get you. But I didn't go out for 2 days, which makes me mad because I'd like to go out, but because I was having pain. But yeah, the problem is with CPS is that they have it's kind of creepy, but you said once that they have like some kind of a handbook.
Well, I said Maine had a handbook.
Right.
Not all states have, not all counties have handbooks.
Okay. And so what does Maine say or do?
Well, I like the way it was laid out. It was really easy to go through. Let me see if I can pull up that handbook and see if I still have it here. Hold on a second. Let me go see it. handbook. Where would that be? Let me see. Well, let me look it up again.
Go sit down.
Well, California has a handbook, Natalie.
Yes, they do, but I don't know what it says.
It's called the Manual of Policies and Procedures. But it's for the Department
for the court,
of
or is it for the social worker?
That's for social services. Hold on.
Okay.
There's a Child Protection Service, a guide for caseworkers.
Okay.
And there's a Child Protection Service handbook in Texas.
No, the Texas one, I don't know. I don't know. I know that
Texas has this guide to child protection investigation, and then they
investigate, but it's weird in Texas.
I know. I'm just I can't find the main. I have to go back. Excuse me for I didn't spell Maine right.
MAINE.
I forgot the
Maniac.
The Department of Health and Human has a handbook for parents called a Handbook for Parents, a Guide to Child Protection Services. And that is really great. I mean, I just think that's such a wonderful thing. Let me go to that place and go through it there. Hold on. Here it is. It's a guide to child welfare. It's a handbook for parents, a guide to child welfare. And it's really good because it starts off each year 18,000 Maine children are reported to Child Protection Services because of supported child abuse or neglect. Their department by law is to respond to valid reports, assess child safety, support and preserve families when possible, prevent the occurrence or reoccurrence of child abuse or neglect. Then it talks about why the CPS social worker has contacted me. What is child abuse and neglect? Why should someone make a report? Who made the report? What happens after the report is made? Then it has the child protection assessment. The workers will notify the parents. They'll give the parents an opportunity to ask questions, get information. They'll contact community professionals and others to find more information about the case. And then they determine at the end of the child protection assessment whether the reported abuse is neglect, is unsubstantiated, or indicated or substantiated. Now it talks about what happens with unsubstantiated reports, what happens with indicated reports, and what happens with substantial reports. And then they say, what if I don't want any type of investigation assessment done? So if the parent doesn't want to talk to social workers, why has my child been taken away? It talks about what kind of services are provided when child abuse or neglecting is happening. They have daycare, counseling for parents and children, homemakers, substantial abuse treatment, family violence programs, temporary shelters for teens, crisis service, parenting education, public health, nursing.
So they have all these services, but then one of the questions is, why is my child taken? That's an interesting question, right?
Well, Yeah, it is. It is. But
Doesn't seem normal.
this whole thing is laid out, which I think is a lot better than a
Right.
lot of other states.
Right. No, I understand the simplicity, the practicality of it. Okay.
Yeah.
So they have drug counseling. They have a safety parenting class, and what else?
Well, they have domestic violence, anger management, those kinds of things, you know.
Yeah. That's it. Then what else it has? I just want to know.
Well, it paints a false picture because no matter what they put in print, CPS doesn't honor it. And CPS is very corrupt in Maine.
It's just that I mean, if they have something else, if sometimes you'll find something that even though they don't honor it, you could try to, see what it is.
Well, they say, what are my child rights? What are my rights as a parent? It says, my rights as a parent is the nature of the reported child abuse or neglect, how the assessment will be done, and how long it would take, the suspected harm or risk of harm to the child, what the social worker has found regarding the reported child abuse and neglect, what can happen to result at the assessment, and what action CPS may take, if any. In addition, the parents have the right to request to review their record and to have relatives give priority consideration as temporary caregivers. You see, they paint it's too good to be true kind of picture.
Right.
And that's the sad part about, the child protection system.
Well, it's sad because a lot of them, like we went over this last so many times, part of they don't have a degree in social work. They don't have a degree in psychology.
They don't even have a license.
Even have high school.
They don't even have license.
Right. They don't have a license. So in LA County, you don't even need I think you may just need not even you don't even need citizenship papers. You don't need, the only thing is a California residency and maybe in your California ID. And if you didn't complete high school, they'd still give you an extra chance to train you.
Yeah.
So we have people here who barely can speak English. They're hiring those. I had one that come to the hospital room to medically traffic my son. Barely could speak English. And she's hired. It was really weird. When I said talk to my attorney, she ran away. So they don't have they don't have the capacity or knowledge or the license to do this kind of work, but they're still being hired because they get that bonus.
Yeah.
So it's really crazy. Yeah, that manual actually it entails how much questions are there, and I find that interesting.
Yeah, I know you do.
So I mean, we're talking about how long can you have your child? What's the investigation? But they never tell you those things.
Well, California
they just
doesn't
ask you all these ridiculous questions, and they never identify themselves as a CPS worker.
Well, what did it do to your self-esteem when they took away your children? What happened to you emotionally?
Emotionally, I mean, do you want step by step?
Well, no, I just.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just go by step first. It made me very depressed. I don't want to live depressed. I don't want to get into that, but I don't want to live. I am I felt like I am nobody. I don't matter. There's no way the way I'm being treated here is less than a cockroach. Okay? Cockroaches have more rights than I do.
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry about that.
But it's true. Even rats, they have more rights. A guy, this is was a long time ago, but I was listening to Howard Stern, and this fellow, he was like he was growing oranges in his backyard anyway. So he was like, I guess he was Vietnamese or something.
Okay.
And he actually killed a rat, but these animal rights people came and defended the rat.
Okay.
But they're not going to come defend me. You know, I felt like, and a lot of people, I had a friend, he wasn't very bright. He thought that I had done something to my kids.
Wow.
He thought that his family was better than anything else, that nobody could take any of his relatives' children. It did so much to my self-esteem. Basically, it made me feel like it made me feel so bad that I couldn't. It's still hard for me. I don't like to do like things for myself because I feel guilty.
Mm-hmm.
Like if somebody said, well, why don't you like fix your hair or do this or do that? Like, I don't have my kids. Okay? Why don't you do it for me? Why don't you give me the money to pay for the water or do this and that?
Right.
It's people who are stupid. Okay, but generally the majority of the population that you have to deal with they don't understand. And I want people to understand that you, when you don't have your kids, you will go through horrible emotions by yourself. And then it made me even slightly violent, which is strange because I was not a violent person. So if somebody came and picked the last time the girl next door, she was picking on the plants, I was about to push her in the plants. But I didn't want to do that.
Why would you want to push her in the plants?
Because she was picking on the plants. You see? It's like you become short-fused.
Yeah.
It's like the plants now are like basically like the only thing you have is the plants now to help them. And then like she's saying they have to be organized. What does organized mean, you know? Because she has no children. She has an ugly face and an ugly dog. I mean, that's all what she has. She has nothing in her life to sustain herself. I have 3 kids because I knew my parents would want to see 3 kids. I don't understand society. Why are they picking on all parents? What's the deal?
Well, I don't think they're picking on all parents.
Some parents don't even have much IQ, but they still have their kids. I don't understand.
Yeah.
You know, some people have no education. They have their kids. They can't read, they can't write, but they came after me because I didn't follow their script. I wasn't like the Xerox carbon copy for them. You know what I mean? Like you, Bob, you're intelligent, you're an engineer, so they want educated people's kids so they can sell them.
Yeah, I guess you're right. I guess you're so right.
Because yes, they'll take a certain amount of uneducated kids, families.
Well, my daughter found out how bad the foster care parents were, and she left them on bad terms.
Well, that's good she left them because they probably had no education or no feeling towards her. They were just. They're probably just strange. I don't know what they were, but I'm just seeing in my mind what could it be.
Yeah.
I mean, but in my opinion, my kids deserve better than just to be with people who had no class and no education.
Right.
But I kept telling them, I'm educated. I can do this by myself. I just don't. But basically, back then the self-esteem, like it was just like, okay, I'm okay with myself now as a person, but I feel angry that nobody. When I see people with their kids, I just think, why are you keeping your kids? Why do I have to not have my kids? What did I do wrong? Why am I judged to being different?
Well,
just because you're intelligent doesn't mean you're crazy.
No.
Yes, my friend was intelligent, but she had bipolar and she overdosed, but still.
Yeah. Well, you're being too hard on yourself, Natalie. You have to look at what are the positive things? What are the beautiful things that you found out about your life? You got to be positive no matter if the negative things come up. And you got to keep fighting like you're tonight on my show. You're fighting CPS. CPS
Yeah,
does
I
not,
am.
CPS gets a bad rap by us because they are not who they make themselves out to be.
Well, it's kind of like like a movie, you know. If you put yourself in a strange movie, I always thought it was like it had to be like it's weird. Like you had to be in one of those action movies, you know, Bronson or something, and like they're behind you, and they're to me, it's like Mr. Majestic. Like, you know, you have a bunch of melons and they just attack you anyway. You're in the middle of whatever it is. It's like death
Yeah,
wish, you know.
right.
It's horrible, but that's what happened. I mean, they just took your kid, and you have to find so many ways for their trickery. But you still are on edge. Yes, I didn't want to really like push her in the planter, but it was just like, you know, it's being rude. Like they have to be organized. Like,
is there something else that you can think of that would help out the people listening that was in your case that you could share? Is there something we haven't talked about?
The second thing you need to do is like Bob says, keep all your stuff. Okay, I don't have all my stuff. I don't have all my documents.
All your records, and organize it so you find all your notes and stuff. Yes.
Right, because I don't, because Mike, he has them, but not in his home, but I don't know if he really has them now because my lawyer, because he passed away. So you need all those records because what happens is when you want them from the court, they play a game with you.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do.
Which is unconstitutional because they're supposed to return your records or have a copy of it. But when I went to the children's court last time, I asked for it, and then they sent me a letter saying, no, we're not going to return your records.
Wow.
Which is wrong.
Wow.
So they don't want to return your records because, and a lot of the things is when you have you should keep a lot of them because what happens is they try to like take things out of the record, whatever that could be. And I remember when Mike was doing my appeal, he noticed that some stuff was missing. So you have to keep track of that, and the second thing is file as many like things in the court because to stop them. Because what happens is they just want your child adopted as quickly as possible, so they get that unit funding. The foster parents, they get $1,000, $2,000 a month or whatever it is, and your kid is probably. You know, I don't know how traumatized my children are. I don't know anything. All I know is that I can't even have contact with my kids, and that's unconstitutional as it is. We could go back on, like, Bill Clinton. Like, he wanted this Adoption Permanency Act. So, basically, he wanted kids to be adopted quickly from foster care. Before, like, in California, they actually stayed longer, but you know but because of Permanency Act, they changed it. So if you go through like the code of 1974, the WIC one, kids, it changes, but it's not as dramatic. You know, they're not getting adopted; they just stay a little longer in foster care. So,
yes.
So I am upset because all of us don't have our kids, and I want everybody to have their kids, and we should have like some kind of urgent message out there because not having your kids because somebody else wanted them because they're actually giving it to like a pedophile, you know, or whatever it is. Because this girl in Riverside, this is horrible. I mean, I saw it on YouTube. Yes, I know this is off the chart, but she was in a group home, like your daughter. She was in a group home? Or who was in a group home? Your two children?
Well, my 3 children started off First at a shelter, foster care shelter, for 4 days. Then they're for several months. They're with my wife's sister and her husband, and then they're moved into a group home, and then broken apart into foster care homes.
Well, that's odd. Okay, so they were in a shelter. Then they went to your sister-in-law's home.
Right.
Well, why were they removed from the sister-in-law's home?
She couldn't take care of them because it was a big job. I mean, she thought the case was going to be over in a couple weeks. She didn't know it was going to go months and months and months. So they thought it was too hard for them that they have children. Because, see, with my children, they had 3 schools. So you had transportation twice a day.
Yeah, that is hard.
And one went to a private school, one went to an elementary school, and one went to a middle school. Then they had Boy Scouts, Cub Scouts, and Boy Scouts. And they also had Girl Scouts. So there's another 3 activities. Then they had AYSO soccer, and they had the different levels, girls soccer, and then boys, older boys soccer, and younger boys soccer. So right there, there's three, that's 9 different activities every day or every weekend or whatever the case may be. Does that make any sense to you?
I see what you're saying, because it's a whole day thing. You can't, I mean, you're taking 3 kids in so many different directions.
My wife was the one that was, when I was working, taking them to all the activities. On the weekend, their soccer was a weekend thing. The Boy Scouts was a Monday night thing, and then there's activities on the weekends with Girl Scouts and Boy Scouts. So I helped participate. But my wife and I never dated. We never went out on dates. If we did go out, the kids were with us. Now, we had purchased Disneyland season passes, so we had Disneyland 7 days a week, 365 days out of the year. But the price of season passes is now up to $2,000 a person. That's way too much money. You know, if you got a family,
that's crazy.
If you got a family of 8 people, that's $16,000 a year.
Well, that's a lot of Mickey Mouse money.
I know that.
That's like privileged.
Well, I spoiled my kids.
Got privilege
I spoiled my family, and that was the biggest mistake I did, was spoiling my family. That's something I wish I could have done.
The only thing I could tell you, growing up with an attorney and dad, like, unique, because it's genius level. But you don't need spoiling with interesting things like hats or something. And but books, CDs, like music. I always like music, but I just find that it funny, because of the one time we did go to Disney. It was a long time ago, but it was not $2,000.
Yeah. Well,
it was not $2,000.
What else? I have about 5 minutes left of my show. What else would you like to talk about, Natalie?
Well, we could talk about the way that you can there's that what you were saying about the notebook.
Yeah, well, okay. I said my rule number 2 was you need to have a notebook to organize all your thoughts and all your paperwork. Problem is, like me and most people, we write them on envelopes, we write them on Post-its. I had a day runner. I wrote some notes there. I have my phone, so I have my tasks on my calendar, wrote some notes there. And then my course certificates, my program certificates got misled somewhere. Drug tests got misled somewhere. And the one thing that's really important is your timeline. It should be your list of incidents that happen with your CPS case, whether they're with the children, whether they're with the parents, whether with the social workers, the police, whether they're with the school. You need to write down every incident in chronicle order, and you need to write down the date, the time, and the location and the people that are involved. Then the next line, you write down a summary of what the incident was. And then the third line, you write down the outcome of the incident. Now, sometimes the outcome may take a couple years, so you always have it left blank and you come back and fill it out later. So the incident is one of the most valuable pieces of documentation. I wish I had it too, because I can't remember 6 months or a year later what happened, what transpired with the parents, the social workers, the police. You put down every incident there was. You put every incident that there was.
Yeah, we have to have that final,
And you should organize it by putting in dividers. You should take the dividers and split your paperwork around and put your court paperwork together, put your records together, put your incident in one spot. So you may get 20 subject tabs and you label them. And then you carry that with you. It's 8.5 by 8.5 by 11-inch binder. It's a 3-ring binder, and it's about 3 inches thick. And you fill it full of notebook paper, so you have plenty of notebook paper. And then you can highlight things to find things better or faster. You can highlight things to find them better or faster.
And get the highlighter.
Yeah, the yellow or the pink.
If you need a ruler, rulers help.
Well, ruler keeps things straight. I know that.
But you need the ruler to just make it more clear so you can see.
I agree.
That's what I do.
I agree. Now,
another thing is okay.
Go ahead.
What?
Go ahead.
Well, yeah, okay, so, there's always, the funny thing is, we're going back on reunification. They like to end your reunification because they don't give you the overnight visits and stuff like that and unmonitored because they do it on purpose. So and that's wrong. You should file like a 388 for, had I known, for overnights. I didn't know you could do that. Or change of visits. I didn't know you could do that. So try doing that. To modify the order of the visits because they didn't do that. All I had was monitored visits, and I had to pay for a monitor, and that was fine. But then, because the social worker lied about my monitor, the judge thought that my monitor was a liar, but he wasn't. So he ended up quitting. So you make effort to have those kind of visits so you could keep having reunification because they really just want to end your reunification. They're not for guardianship.
Yeah.
Because sometimes the kid's attorney wanted, in my case, the guardianship, she was thinking about it, but then they actually had a secret meeting about it, and my attorney didn't get notice about it, which was strange. At the last minute. And then he said, no, you have to give me this much time for notice. And they didn't. And then afterwards, they...
Yeah. Natalie, I got to bring it to close because our time is up. It's almost 8:00. I want to thank you very much for sharing your case. And I want you to know that we really do care about you and want the best. I know how hard it is to lose your children and what you went through. To all the listeners out there, do not give up. Please follow me tomorrow. I'm on at 10 o'clock in the morning, or again I'm at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. It's Sunday. 8 o'clock tomorrow morning, I come on at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. And then tomorrow night, I'll be on at 7 o'clock. So thank you for listening. God bless y'all. And this is Bob and Natalie signing off. And
Monday is
and you stay safe.
John Chris's update. Okay.
Okay. All right.
Hi, I'm attorney Vincent Davis, and I've been fighting CPS for over 35 years. Through my years of experience, I've gained invaluable insights that I'm ready to share with you. If you're a parent or a caregiver or a relative, we need to talk. I'm offering a new opportunity for you to speak with me on a one-on-one basis. Ask me any questions, and I'll provide you with the insight you need to take steps in your CPS case. Members get everything they need to gain confidence and the knowledge that they need to support necessary to truly fight back. And as a special thank you for attending, I have a special offer just for you. Don't miss out. Join us, and let's take that next step together. I'll see you at the question and answer event.